In this video, I'm going to be sharing my arthritis pet peeves, and I also asked people in the arthritis community over on my Instagram, Rising Above RA. If you haven't been following me now, I highly suggest you do so. There are so many lovely conversations going on over there, and I hope to see you there. But some people responded, and I'm going to be sharing their responses today. So stay tuned because that's coming all right up. Hey guys, it's Effie. Welcome or welcome back to my channel where I share the good, the bad, and the ugly of living with a chronic illness and other lifestyle topics. If that sounds cool to you, make sure to hit subscribe and the bell button to be notified every single time I post a new video. So you may be even wondering what an arthritis pet peeve is. An arthritis pet peeve is basically anything that irritates those living with arthritis. And when I'm referring to arthritis, I am talking about rheumatoid arthritis, which happens to be an autoimmune, autoinflammatory type of arthritis. There are 100 different types of arthritis out there. This happens to be one of them. I'm also going to reply to these pet peeves and share an experience where I can relate, and also what I have found in terms of solutions to help me cope when I experience these. So the first person, she said how random it is. My RA flares up in different spots all the time. And I totally have experienced this within the past 15 years on and off. And for the second one, I'm just reading these off my phone because I am not a human computer and I can't remember exactly what everyone said. So the second one that was submitted, she wrote that when in bed, I can't use my hands to pull the covers over me. And I have to say this is one of my biggest arthritis pet peeves because my hands have been impacted the most, and I can totally relate to this, and it's just not fun when you're especially sleeping in the middle of the night and for some reason your covers happen to be off of you or just not on you fully, because that happens, and you're trying to lift them over you and you're just in pain. And I have come to find that quilts are just not my friend because they're just really stiff. And with arthritis, sometimes gripping can be extremely difficult. And I know for me personally, I have splints that I sometimes wear at night. I should be wearing them every night, but sometimes I just forget about it and I fall asleep. But I'm trying to be more mindful about it because it's important. And my occupational therapist, who I've seen for my hands and my elbow, she's made me some really nice resting splints. So that also can be a real big roadblock when it comes to lifting up covers. If you're already wearing the splint, I've had to sometimes take them off and then put them on in the middle of the night when I'm half asleep. So it's not really fun to do. But of course, if you have someone like a spouse or your wife or your husband or anyone else that can help you, that's also something to think of. And in regards to what you use to cover yourself when you sleep, try to think more in the terms of accessibility. I have found that a really soft, comfortable duvet that's not too heavy but warm is really nice because then you can grab it because it's sort of plushy, and then you have a better assistance when it comes to gripping. For the third submission, someone wrote in being unable to open anything and painsomnia, and I believe I'm saying that correctly. And for those of you who don't know what painsomnia is, that's basically just chronic pain that really impacts your quality of sleep and you're just up all night in pain. And this is just a big thing for people who live with arthritis, especially rheumatoid arthritis, because we tend to have widespread body aches, muscle aches, joint pain. And if you're in a flare, like I had mentioned in submission number 1, where you can flare in multiple spots, that can also keep you up at night. And I can relate to not being able to open anything. And while I can open some things on my own, I can't do it the way I used to before I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I know many people, they have lived with this for a long time, that they don't really know anything else. For me, I was diagnosed at 18, so when I was younger, I was able to open things without assistance most of the time, unless it was a kitchen jar of tomato sauce, for instance, and you need to use an accessible aid like a jar opener, which many people need to, regardless if you're living with arthritis or not. Is just something that's not normal for the hand to have such stress on. And I'll just give a couple examples. because there are things out there that are packaged in a way that doesn't make it easy for anybody to open, especially if you're living with arthritis. Toothpaste, squeezing that to put the toothpaste on my electronic toothbrush is really hard because you have to use grip. So what I do is I use my forearm. Sometimes if I'm having a really bad day with my hands and it's just not going to work, I put the toothpaste tube on the bathroom counter and I just put my forearm on it, because the forearm is just a really strong area of your body in general. Take, for instance, something simple as opening a bag of chips. The last thing you want to do when you're out is ask someone to help you, but we have to sometimes, right? That's when I sometimes wear my wrist guards, or I have something called Dyson grip, and my occupational therapist taught me all this, and that does wonders. And I always carry a piece of Dyson in my purse or even in my car if I need to use it for anything while I'm out, and I'll link that in the description box below as well. And the fourth submission, I'm really loving how all these are connecting and how relatable these are. She wrote in, those lift off tabs on bottles that are impossible to open. And I have this problem with my supplements. A lot of them that I take, actually a few of them, have something where you have to lift up the tab and then pull it off. And that's really hard. Again, grip strength for me is something that's weakened over time because of the joint damage that I have in my wrist, for instance. And that's just something that I have to, accommodate my everyday life around. But it's not that it's not doable, and I sometimes do it if I'm having a good day and my grip strength is just feeling amazing, or I just feel stronger that day because I'm not feeling much pain or inflammation. I pull it open. One tip I have for that is you can even take a knife, like a butter knife. You don't want anything sharp to injure yourself, or even a pen that's closed and pointy, and you just stick it underneath the tab and you just lift up. I'll make a video about like certain hacks that I've created, and I know RA Life Hacks has a lot of those on her Instagram as well. I've talked to her about that, and I wanted to actually try out some of her arthritis hacks to see if they worked for me or not, and share them with you guys as well visually, because I know she has a lot of those written out on her Instagram page. So I wanted to make a video testing those out as well. So I'm really glad she submitted one for my YouTube video today. As long as manufacturers decide to make those products like that, we really have no other option as to just get creative. And one thing you can do, and a solution I've done, is actually write these companies and give them a review or feedback on their products. So last but not least, the fifth submission was someone who wrote in saying, when people say I'm getting old, I probably have arthritis, and then they laugh. And this is a really good thing to, I guess, end on, because we don't only focus on the physical, we focus on the mental and emotional aspects of arthritis on this channel, and the social aspects as well. And sometimes people can say things that are hurtful to us because when we are living with it, we don't necessarily find it funny. However, sometimes we may joke about it internally within our community, but we don't find it funny when someone else does. So, what I say with that is you have to just sometimes explain to someone in a nice way, hey, like, that's not cool to say because I have arthritis. But arthritis is the #1 leading cause of disability in the United States, especially work disability, from what I know. And regardless if you are living with an autoimmune, autoinflammatory type of arthritis to begin with, there are different types of arthritis. And as we age, it's inevitable that everyone will get some type of arthritis. And a lot of the times people don't know that younger people can have arthritis. And this statement really brings forth the stigma that many of us in the arthritis community try to break. So now I just want to share a couple of my pet peeves. And my first one is having to wait days, weeks, months, or even years to be seen by a specialist like a rheumatologist or any other doctor who can diagnose your symptoms, whether you are living with arthritis or any other related condition. I just feel that's super annoying and dangerous as to why we have to wait so long when they say that it's so serious. But I understand that there is a shortage of rheumatologists, especially pediatric rheumatologists for children, and that's going to be up to future generations to get involved. Which brings me to my second arthritis pet peeve is the trial and error of treatments and medications for those living with autoinflammatory forms of arthritis. I've been on, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 different medications so far on my 15-year journey. Some have worked for a while, then they have stopped. Others didn't work at all, and there is no cure, so we just have to keep trying and trying and trying until we find something that hopefully puts us in remission. And I wouldn't say necessarily a cure, because a cure is something that would revert you back to your prior self before being diagnosed and would totally erase any irreversible joint damage. My third pet peeve is having to rely on accessible aids all the time. And I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for the ones that I do have, because I extremely am grateful for all the accessible aids that I have available to me now, because there are people back in the day who didn't have any of this. Sometimes it can just get old if you have been living with a chronic condition for some time, and prior to that you didn't have to rely on these aids, or you're healthy and you could just do things easily, but now you have to be mindful of it, and it just gets tiring, to be honest. My fourth pet peeve is having to ditch high heels. I had a total knee replacement in 2016, so I haven't really worn any heel above 4 to 5 inches. I know prior to my surgery and even afterwards, I did a thorough clean of my closet, and I gave away a lot of shoes that I loved, but they just weren't good for my feet anymore. And I did keep a few high heels that I absolutely adore that I never really had a chance to wear a lot of, and that makes me sad. But I am hopeful for in the future that if I do want to just go out one night or have an event to go to, that I'll just wear them quickly and bring a pair of comfy flats to wear if my feet get tired. And that's something that you guys can think of as well. Also, I see a podiatrist, and she gives me orthotics, which I can put into shoes or even any gel insoles. You can probably talk to your rheumatologist about this as well, but it's really helpful to see like a podiatrist, even if you don't have feet issues, which I don't. But you know, it's nice to see someone who can recommend certain ways to go about wearing shoes that you may not be able to anymore. My fifth arthritis pet peeve is fatigue after you take your injection. I do my injections on Mondays, and the next day on Tuesday I sometimes feel tired. Not as much anymore, because a lot of the supplements I take help with my fatigue, and I also just really feel that my body has gotten used to my medication where I don't feel the fatigue as bad. I know that's not the case for everyone, but when I did start on methotrexate several years ago, I remember the fatigue being really bad after I started my medication, but over time my body got used to it. And I just want to say that our fatigue can also occur from many other things. The weather, I know lately it's been really gloomy here, and the weather's getting colder and it's changing. You can probably tell by my lighting right now, but that's just one example that weather, anything you eat, if you just had a long stressful day, that can cause fatigue. A lot of people like to blame medication for their fatigue, but if you realize before you were even diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis or any other form of arthritis, you were probably feeling fatigue too. You may not have noticed it. I know for me, fatigue was my first sign and symptom before I was even diagnosed. And I feel that that's just the disease process and one of the symptoms. And of course, medication can make it worse. My last three is when you're in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden you feel a sharp pain. Let's say you're at the grocery store and you're lifting bags to put in your trunk, or you're just lifting up like some orange juice or milk carton at the store and you have sharp pain out of nowhere. That's a big annoyance for me, because I may be feeling good, but then there's just like one movement I do and I'm like, ow, you know? And that's something we have to deal with on and off throughout the day. We don't know when we're going to deal with it either. My second to last pet peeve is having to ask strangers for help. I have a problem when it comes to the gas station, in that when I put the lever into my gas tank, I can't press the lever a lot of the times. It's just extremely difficult to do, and I felt like my hand was going to break one time, no joke. And it was one of the first times when my tank was empty, no one was home to help me, and so I had to really summon the courage to go inside to the gas station and ask the person working there if they could help me. Of course, they were extremely nice, and from then on, I wasn't scared to ask for help. My last arthritis pet peeve doesn't necessarily have to do with me, but it has to do with others, and that is having to explain over and over and over again your condition or what you're going through like a broken record. And all I have to say to that is a lot of people can only view topics for each week. They met themselves. And if you are subscribed to my newsletter, you will have exclusive living with it. They may not understand. What I will be talking about to learn anyone else, something really social media, even if someone is living with exclusive access, chronic condition, or chronic pain, or anything else of the sort, you may not be able to relate to what they're going through either, because we are all different at the end of the day, and we have different experiences, no matter if we have similarities. And I guess tying into my other arthritis pet peeve talks right now is just to have patience with yourself and others, and be really willing to try to educate others in a way that they could understand, and maybe even send them like the spoon theory story, for instance, or any other articles that you feel would help them understand, because sometimes talking to someone about it may not really help them register exactly what's going on, because it's hard for people to empathize. While they can understand, that's a whole different story. And if you send them some stories or videos to watch, maybe even mine, who knows, or some other YouTubers, or an article you read online that you feel that can help them, that would also be helpful, I think, to explain to people who may be still not really quote-unquote understanding or empathetic in your view. That's all I have for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please share, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And for this Spoonie Star Supporter of the Week shout out, I wanted to focus on those who took the time to send in a submission to share their arthritis pet peeve. So everyone who submitted, the 5 people, thank you so much. Until next time. Bye guys.